Gå live. Præcis. Så skulle den være live.
Jeg prøver lige at refresh der. Nå, nu sker der noget.
Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Gik det fint hjem?
Ja, jeg hørte ingenting. Jo, nu hører jeg noget.
Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3.
Der er bare lidt delay på.
Ja. Small delay. Okay, 4 viewers. Great. We will be starting in just a minute. Let me just get the link here.
Så kan du skrue din mikrofon op en lille smule?
Ja. 1 second. Hvor har vi så min... Det var der. Okay. Det burde være en lille smule højere nu. 1 second. Yes. Men jeg går bare i gang.
Det var jo.
Main going into view desktop icons. There we go. Switching over. Hello and welcome. So in our YouTube chat, I just posted a link of what we made from last stream. So if you want to continue with us today, I recommend that you go and download that version of the game so you can follow the steps that we will be doing today. I will show you quickly the process of doing this. There are basically 2 ways that you can either do it, work on it in the browser, or you can download it and work with it in Scratch program like I have right here on my desktop. But let me just quickly show you how this works. So if you click the link like here, it's gonna warn you saying, are you sure you want to use this link? This is a safe link. It's for Scratch own website. You can press the go to website here, and I'll show you where it will direct you. It will show you the game that we have been working on here on the live streams, and you can actually download it for yourself, or you can work with it directly here. To get it on your computer, you can press the button C inside here on the top right. This is what I would recommend. This will show you all the code, and to get it downloaded for your own computer, you have to, in this page, go to File, and then Save to your computer. That way you can save it. Let me actually just do that. So when I press Save, you'll get this small pop-up version where you can save file, and basically just make sure you choose the second option here and then press OK. It will ask you for a place to save it. I'm just gonna save it on my desktop, and I'm gonna call this Brick Breaker. Actually, I'm gonna delete the last part here. Brick Breaker version 2. And I saved it here on desktop, pressing save, and now it's on my computer. Now I can go back to Scratch if you have that downloaded. If you haven't downloaded Scratch to your computer, you can also just work with it directly here in the browser. That's also an option. So feel free to do that. And when we are done with today's session, you can save it on your computer and then still have it. If you have any questions, I know Jan will be in the chat and also on our Discord. On our Facebook group, there is a direct link to our own Discord server. Quickly, I can show you that as well. We have a Discord. Let me just show you here. There we go. So this is our very own Discord server, and Jan is in there to help you if you have any questions. So feel free to pop in there and ask him any questions, both in Danish or English. Great. So I think we are ready to continue. I will go back into a Scratch program, which is right here. And I started out with an empty Scratch, so I'm gonna open up the game that I just downloaded by going to File, up here on the left, then press, this time we're gonna press the one Load, the second one, and then find our game that we just downloaded. And remember, I selected desktop right here. And I called it version 2, so this one. Select it and then open. Actually, I'm gonna open up my streaming here. Yes. And of course, Jan is in the chat if you have any questions. So hopefully you should have downloaded the game that we have been working on, and you should be able to start from where we ended up last time. To quickly go over what we are trying to make here, it's a simple, I call it brick breaker, because we have a ball that's gonna bounce around the screen here, and it's gonna destroy a lot of bricks. So quickly gonna test the game for you guys by pressing the start button. That's the green flag. You can see it builds a lot of bricks, and then we have our ball bouncing through all of them. Currently it is jumping, it's going directly through them, but we are making it so it bounces between all of them, like it does there. So this is the general idea that we are making with this game. The controls for this is our player, that's the red bar here, and we control that with our arrow keys, left and right. And then we just have to protect the ball from not hitting the green grass at the bottom. That's basically our main goal here. And today we will add some power-ups. So we're gonna make it more fun and make some cool things with all these bricks that we have. And to show you, I'm just gonna hide my ball here. Let's see. Yes, so the ball that is bouncing around, I'm gonna hide that for a second, just to show you, you don't have to do this though. I can hide it with this eye, and then start the game again. So all these different colors of bricks that we have will each do a different thing. So first we're gonna make it so if we hit a purple block, the ball will go faster. So the more purple bricks we hit, the faster it will go. That's the first thing that we're gonna make. The second thing will be if it hits a green one, then we are gonna add another ball, so you would have more things to catch during the game. So it's gonna be a more difficult, but also more fun, I hope. But let's see. Let's start out with adding the speed to the ball. We're gonna stop my game again and show it back here and move it back down to the original position here. And what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna make this a bit bigger so you can see, and then zoom in on my code. So looking at our bricks here, if you select, so all our characters or elements in the game will be here on the bottom right. And you can see we have 4. We have our player and the ball that we have to protect, and then we have our basically the map, the bricks that are gonna build, and our grass that we try to avoid hitting because then we are losing the game. So looking at our bricks, you can see it's currently showing one color. The way that we control that it has multiple colors is in the costumes. And you can find costumes here on the top left, right up here. And you can see I added 3 different colors. We could add as many colors and different colors. You don't have to select the same as but I chose these 3, and then we're basically gonna make 3 different powers for the game. One cool thing about this, we can also make some bad effects, so that makes it harder for us to actually play the game. But I think we'll add that later. First, we want to add something that can help us win the game. So let's start off with coding the bricks here. So we want to go away from costumes again into the code section, and look at what we have made here. So I can see we have some leftover blocks here that are not being used. I'm just gonna remove those because I want some clear code. To remove them, you can simply use your mouse by left clicking and then dragging it over to the blocks on the left, and then it will disappear. This is very good since we are not using it, we don't want it to show. So moving this up a bit and then scrolling down, we're gonna add some new code below here, and we will first find the same block we have here when I start as a clone. Let's see, that should be in control. That's the orange blocks, and you should find it down here. So you should drag that over here and put it, I think, below. It's a good position. One way also, instead of finding the same block, you can actually duplicate it by right clicking and then pressing duplicate. You can see I get the same piece of code, and then I can just remove what I don't need. That's also one way if you already have the block. But we only need one for now. Let's see what we can do with this. Basically what this reads is when it starts as a clone, and that means since we have only one brick and we are cloning it throughout the map, creating, I think we're making 50 or so, or close to. We need this block to actually add this code to any clone that is made. So make sure you have this one. The next thing is that we are gonna ask, is this brick being hit by something? So we need to ask a question, and the question block is our if blocks. And that's also in control. It's right here on the top. So if you find one of these, and the next thing we need is the forever. That's in the same section. So if you drag this in here. So what the forever will do is it's gonna keep asking our question throughout the game, and this is very important. So make sure that you put the if inside the forever, and then you can attach it to our first block. Because this ensures that our code will be running throughout our game when we play it. If you don't have the forever, it will only run when you start the game and then never again. So it will never be able to detect something. But more on that later. So in here we have a blank spot, and this is basically where we are gonna put our question, asking, is this clone being hit by something? Then we will do something. And to find a question, you go into the light blue. This is called sensing. in here we have, let's see, we have some different options that we can do. Actually, I think we can try a simple one first, and we might change it later. So if we take this touching, and you can add it in here, make sure that you drag it over so it have these white edges, and then you release it. Then it will attach to that if block. In here it says if touching mouse pointer. That's currently the mouse that you can see I'm moving around. I want to change this into something else. And if you click the mouse pointer, you are met with different options. And these are the objects that we currently have, or elements that you find here on the right. I want to ask if this block is hitting the ball that is bouncing around. And I have it right here. So if touching ball, then it will do something. So we can actually test it out by let's say we will stop the game whenever it hits the ball. That's one way to test it. There is a block that will stop everything, and you find that in our control once again, and here at the bottom we have one called stop all. I think that's a good way of testing it. We're gonna remove that again. So if we test the game now, make sure that you move the ball back to the starting position right above our red player, and then press start. Let's see what happens. And my ball is going sideways, so oh, there we go. And it did not work. Oh, they're dead. Okay, so it didn't work at first. What should have happened is whenever it hits the first brick, then it should stop. So let's go back and review our code. I'm gonna go into the brick once again. So when I start as a clone, if touching the ball, stop all. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what happens here is that it's gonna delete it first. So it never actually gets a chance to run this piece of code because it already removes our clone before it does that. So if I were to move this one out and then test it once again, what I should see is that it stops immediately. So this tells us that this will stop the game, or stop whatever we are trying to do. So let's look into this then. If you look up here, we are saying if it hits the blue color, then it will delete that clone. We might actually have to add this code that we are trying to make to our ball instead of the bricks. So let's look into this instead. If we go into the ball, make sure that you select it here. And here we have some code. We're gonna add it below all these code lines. And we're gonna add something similar to what we have here actually, the second one. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we can duplicate code and then reuse it. And I think we should try that here. So right click the second piece of code and then press duplicate. And then put that below. So you should have 3 blocks of code. So if I zoom out, it should look something like this now. I'm gonna zoom in again to show you what I'm changing here. So I wanna keep the 2 if that I have here, but I'm gonna remove everything inside. And also the questions. So you should have something like this. So in here we have 2 options now. We want to detect what color the ball is actually hitting. And let's try, see here. So again, in the sensing blocks, the light blue, we're gonna add the touching, and actually not the first one here. We're gonna ask what color is it hitting. So the second one. And in here, we want to select the colors that our bricks are. And this is very important that you select the correct color. One way of doing this is by going into your bricks, select the brick, and then in costumes, where I showed you the different colors I had, you might have chosen something different. You can find the color of the bricks here. So if you click through the costumes and select it, you would be able to see the color here in the fill. I should be able to, let's see, actually going back to the code. So one way we can select the color, if we go back to the ball once again, to the code here. In here there is a color, it's currently purple. If you click the color, you're met with the option to change it. At the very bottom there should be a picture with like a pen. If you click that, you get the option to click anywhere in the game for a specific color that you're looking for. However, we have an issue with we don't have any of the bricks in the game before we started because it's gonna clone everything. What we can do is we can actually show our original brick, the first brick. If you select that one and then press the left eye, you can see it appears in the game. This means that we actually have the option now for selecting it. So now we have to jump back again to the code on the ball here, select the color and select the pen, and I can click my purple color here. Great. So now we have the exact color that we need. So now we need to do something whenever we hit this this color. And one thing we could do is just to see if this works. We could create a clone of our ball. I think that could be quite funny. So let's go into to control once again, the orange ones, and then at the bottom here there should be create clone of myself, and this is the ball. I'm going to show you what this will do. So let's try and test this. So I'm gonna move that back down, test my game, see, okay, what happens. Okay, it stopped. So the game might actually stop because I still have the code that we made before. So I'm going back into our brick code, and the code that I made here, I'm actually gonna remove that entirely by dragging it over. And then to show you, test it one more time. And whenever it hits a purple, it creates a clone, but you can see it just stays there. It doesn't move at all. So to actually get it to move, we need to copy some of the code that we have for the first one. And this is very simple to add. But you can see whenever it hits one of the purple ones, it simply just create a new one. And there is actually a lot now. So to quickly show you how we can add this. So going in, make sure that you're on the ball again. And you can see the first few blocks, if we look from the very top here, the first one is controlling the movement of our player here, or the ball that is bouncing around. We want that same piece of code, but now we want it for all the clones that we are making for it. Because this is only for the first one. But we can simply copy this piece of code by duplicating it and then adding it over here. The only thing that we're going to change is the first block. So you can grab the second one here, the forever block, and then remove it from the green flag. And then you can delete this entirely. And you can replace it with the when I start as a clone. So in orange one at the bottom, so it should look something like this. This means that all the clones that we are making of all the balls that we are creating will now also have the movement of the first one. And testing is very important, so let's keep testing to see what happens. So it should hit a purple one, and you can see it actually flies around. So now we have multiple that we can actually play the game with. And Another issue that we just encountered, you can see I don't know which one is the original, so I don't know which one I have to save now. So maybe we should actually make the clones a different color so we know which one is the original. One way of doing this is simply copying again the graphics for the first one. So if you have selected the ball here, go into costumes. You can see we have one costume here on the left. I simply want to make this a different color. So I don't want to make, oh, we could actually also make the shapes different. But to begin with, I'm just gonna make a different color. Again, I want to right click with your mouse and then press duplicate. Now we have a second one with the same color, and we can simply change it by left clicking on it. So you have this blue square, and then adding a different color here on the top left. So if you click the small arrow, you can simply just, the first bar here, drag it to any color that you would like. I think a green one. No, actually, since we have green ground, I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm actually gonna make a somewhat yellow, orange, dark orange. Yes, this is good for me. So when I've changed the color, the only thing that we need to do now is that whenever we are making a clone, we want to change into this costume. And the way we do that is by going back to the code. So on the top left, go back to your code, and we want to focus on the piece of code here that says when I start as a clone. So what should the first thing be when it starts as a clone? We want to change the costume into the new one that we just made. And there's a simple block for this. So when we want to change our appearance, our looks, we have to go into the purple ones, purple blocks. And these are very interesting. And the one that we need is just saying switch costume to this should be this one. And we want to switch into costume 2. We could give the costume any names, but it just happens to have the name costume 2. And this is fine. You can select the costume 1, but then it would still have the blue color. So make sure it says costume 2. And the place that you want to add this is just above the forever block that you have. So this will be the first thing that happens, because when our code is running, it goes from the top to the bottom. So this will be the first thing that will happen. And let me just show you. And you can see my game here just have the costume 2 now. And the reason it has this is because if I go into my costumes, I have selected the costume 2. So I can simply select the first one here. We can also do some coding to fix this issue, and I think that would actually be the best thing to do. So let's find another one of these costume blocks and add it to our green flag section. So these actually look similar. So the only difference that we are making here is that instead of saying costume 2 in both of these, I'm gonna make this to costume 1. And I think it's time to test now to see what happens. So whenever it hits a purple one, it creates a different color. And now I know I still have to just protect the blue one, and I don't really care about all the orange ones. They're just helping me clear the map, or currently they are not doing anything, but they should be clearing all the bricks as well. And that will be the next thing that we're gonna add. Stopping the game, everything disappears. I think actually before we continue, you can see I keep dragging the blue one here back to the starting position. We can also make some code that will do this for us, and I think that would be very nice to have. And we can actually add that in the same position that we had here. So if you put everything in the starting position that you want it to be in, so let's say I want my player to be here and my ball to be here somewhere, then we can find some position blocks where we are moving everything into its starting position, and that is our motion blocks, the blue ones. And make sure that you have put everything how you want it, because that will make the blocks have the right values, right numbers that it needs. So if you look over here, we have something go to. This is the block that we're looking for. That means it will move anything to that position. Don't think so much about the numbers here. You can see whenever I move it, the numbers in this block is changing. This is why it's important that you move it into the position that you want it to start in, because then this block will have the right numbers. So if I move this into our first one here, and I try to start the game where, let's say I move it up here. If I start the game now, it will jump back to position. And you can see it started from the starting position that I wanted. Starting again, quickly to show you. It keeps going back down here. I basically just need to do the same thing for my player bar here. So, starting position, and I want that to start somewhere here. And that goes for the same. So if you go to the player that we have, in here we need to add the same go to X and Y, and add it as the first thing that happens in the game. That means if I put this in any position like this, it will all go back to the starting position. And this is very nice. I think that's the best way to do it. That way we know whenever we start the game, everything will start as we want it. So that's very good. As you saw, all the orange clones that we made did not actually remove any of the bricks. So let's see if we can make that happen. And that we will have to add in our, I think it's in the ball or the brick. Let's see what we have here. So I'm gonna zoom out just to show you the bricks that we have. So down here, we're creating clones of it. Here we are saying, okay, if we're hitting the ground, then we will lose the game. Basically stop all. And the second one here is saying if we are hitting our player, then we will just bounce back in a random direction. So I think our code is actually in the bricks this time. So looking here, we're saying if we are hitting this blue color, that's the color of the ball, then we will delete that clone. And actually what we need here is we need the color of the second balls that or the clones of the balls that we're making. So to find that, or an easy way to do that is changing the color here. So select the ball and go into costumes. We are moving a lot back and forth through our code and costumes, so please tell me if I'm going too fast. But in here, like I mentioned, if I select the second costume that we made, you can see the appearance inside the game is actually changing now. So now I can, with code, select that color so I get the right one. So make sure you have changed into the new color that you made, and then go back to the brick code. So make sure to go back into the code section. These are the two important tabs, costumes and code. So in here, again, we want to duplicate some code. So this time we want to duplicate our question here, the if. So right click the if and then duplicate. And then you can add that just below. Make sure you don't put it inside the other if, and you have to add it below. Now we just need to change the color so it doesn't say blue for both of them. And we can simply change it by clicking the color and then at the bottom, click the pen. And I should be able to pick the right color in here now. So now we have the colors of the two balls bouncing. And if we test the game now, everything should be removed very quickly because we have like multiple. Yes, you can see they clear them. So this is like a super easy level. Basically plays it all by itself. So we might actually add another thing. You can see the balls doesn't get removed when they hitting the green ground, and that should of course happen as well. That's also very simple to add. So if we go back into our to the code here on the ball, at the bottom here, let's see. Yes, here. No, actually I think we should continue on the code that we made here on the top. So if I zoom in once again, make some more space so you can see. So we have this piece of code that says when I start as a clone, we're just gonna add another question to it. So you can see we already have one here saying if it hits one of the purple blocks, it will shoot out in a random direction. We just want to add another one. So again, we can simply duplicate our code. This is very awesome. Duplicate it and then add it below. Make sure you don't put it inside here, but below it. And we want to remove this point in direction because we don't need that. So simply drag that all the way to the left. Actually, I'm gonna make some more space here so it's more clean for you to read. There we go. So here we are gonna change the color into the green color of the ground. So we can select that specific color with the pen tool and click the green. And what we want to do now is we're gonna delete that clone. And there's a block reading this. So you can find that block in control, the orange to the left here. And see at the bottom there is delete this clone. This will make it so whenever one of the orange ones hits the ground, it's gonna remove itself from the game. And I want to show you this to see that it's working. Let's see if someone comes all the way to the ground. Yeah, this one is going down. And you can see they all just disappear when they hit like the grass. Great, so I think what we need to add now is let's see here. So as you saw, now they will actually be removed from the game, but we should also be able to like protect them, like so they bounce back up with if they hit the player. And this is also very simple with the code that we currently have. We can again copy our code. So this is not cheating, this is just using what we already made. You can see we have something here. It actually is this part right here. If it's hitting the player, then we will point in direction with these two numbers. Don't mind the numbers, these are just something that we are using, so you don't have to change them, you can just use these numbers. Make sure that the second one here has the minus in front. But we are simply just gonna duplicate this if code. So you should get this piece of code right here. And we can simply add that up here where we already have the code. And moving it to the right here so you can see. There we go. So now I should have some code working. Let's see, let's test. Can I bounce them back? I can. So now I can actually keep all the balls if I'm able to save all of them. And make the game super easy for myself. Let's see if we can add a victory screen if we clear all of them. I think that's the last thing that we can manage today. Also remember, after this live stream session, we will be on our Discord server, me and Jan. If you have any question regarding what we made today, but also if you have other things, other games that you might be working on, or if you need any help, we will be there for half an hour after today's stream. So please come and join us. Discord link can be found on our Facebook group. There's a video on how to use it or how to get in. So definitely come and join us. But let's see if we can add a victory screen if we are actually able to clear all the bricks. So we need something to check, are there any more bricks left in the game? So we need something to count the bricks that we are making. Let's see if we go on to the brick code. This is where we are creating all our bricks. So we need something to count the bricks. Currently we don't have anything, and I'm gonna introduce something we call variables. I have mentioned that before, but this is super important. But these are called variables. Might be difficult to say, but you can find these on the left at the bottom here, saying variables. These are some dark orange blocks. We're gonna make something that can count for us, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you follow me here saying make a variable, we can click that. It's gonna pop up with a whole new screen that we can give it a name. I'm just gonna call this brick counter. So it will count my bricks. And two options that you have down here, simply make sure that you choose the one called for all sprites and then press OK. Basically, in short terms, what we just made here is a box that can hold a value, like a number or text or anything that we like, and we can change what's inside this box. You can see already in the game after making it that you are now met with a 0 or a number. So what we're gonna do now is that we are gonna change this number whenever we are creating a brick. And in the variables we have something called change, and this is the one that we need to add in our brick code. So in here, make sure that you add it all the way in here, and then we're gonna change it by 1. So let me try and change the game, or not change the game, start the game, and see what happens. You can see it counts all the way up to 35. That means we have 35 bricks. But if I were to start the game again, it will count up again from 35. But I wanted to start from 0 every time. So you also need to add the set, so the first one here, as the first thing that happens in the game. So at the very beginning here, that means it will always start from 0 whenever we start the game. And it counts to 35. So no matter how many times I start and stop the game, it will always reach 35. Great. So now we have that. Now we just need to subtract a number every time we remove one of the bricks. So stopping the game here and going into, so where are we adding? Delete this clone. That's actually right here on the right of our code. So we are saying we will delete a clone whenever either one of the orange balls or the blue balls are hitting one of the bricks. So in that same section here, we are, instead of changing the number by 1, we are changing it by -1. So we need the same change block. We need 2 of these. So we need it in both of these question. So add them in here. And instead of saying 1, make sure that you put a minus in front of both of these. This is very important. Don't put it behind, but put it in front of the number. That's very important. And I'm testing the game just to see what happens. It counts up to 35. And let's see. It hits 1. And it keeps counting down. Great. It's doing what it should be. So now we actually have something. So if I am able to clear everything here, it should say 0. Yes, great. So the last thing that we actually need is we need to do something whenever it hits 0. So I want to quickly create a different scene or a different screen that says victory or you win, I think. Let's try you win. To make a new screen or background that says this, you have to find these are called backdrops or stages here on the right. If you click that, you're met with an empty screen, but you can go into the top left here again, where it says now backdrops, and these are the backgrounds that you will have. We're gonna make a new one, so we're just simply gonna duplicate this one. So now we are on the second one. In here, I'm just gonna write you win, and I can use the text here, the T, to do this. So if I click the T and then anywhere on the screen, I can write you win. And I'm actually gonna make that a bit bigger and then move it to the center like this. And now it will say you win. Or we can make it switch into this background if a player will win the game. So make sure that you go back or select the first one that is currently empty, and then go back to the code and back to the brick code. So you should go back here. In here, we want to detect is the brick counter hitting 0? Then we will win. So actually, let's see. So it might be met with an issue here. 1 second, let me just get water here. Okay, so in here we will detect, moving this up a bit, we're gonna make a new block of code. So first we need the green flag. That's the first thing. And you find the green flag in events. So at the very top here, get one of these. The next thing is we're gonna ask a question again, and we need the forever block because again, it needs to happen throughout the whole game. So find and control our forever and if. So in the if here, we're gonna ask, is the counter at 0? And to find that, you actually have to go back to variables, and you have here on the top a simple block that just says the name of your variable that we made. This is the one that you need. And now we need to check, is this equal something? Like, is it the same as something else? And for that, we need the green blocks. These are like calculations and all that cool stuff. So if we click the green ones, we have one saying equal. That's this one. It has like these 2 lines saying equal. You can actually attach this one to either first or second one. And in the second one, you should say the number 0. Or let's see, actually we want to move this around. So add the brick counter to the first one and they say 0 in the second one. So I know something will go wrong here because the brick counter is 0 at the very beginning. So it will say we win at the beginning. There is a way to fix this by actually in here we're gonna so add this green one to our if question. So I want to show you why this will make us win the game immediately. But first we are gonna add so that it changes into the new background that we made. And again, we are changing something by looks. So go into the purple ones and find the one called switch backdrop. Instead of switch costume, there's one called switch backdrop. In here, we're gonna add that. And it says backdrop 2. That's the new one that we made. And I will show you now, starting the game. It actually did not make me win. But let's see if I can win now, see if it works. This is super difficult. and I won. So this actually worked, even though I didn't think it would. However, if you now start the game, it will keep saying you win, because it never changes back to the first empty background. But like we did with the blue ball here, we can add a second one of these switch backdrop, but at the very beginning of this piece of code, where we would change it into the blank screen that we have. So saying backdrop 1. Then we'll always go back when we start the game to the original one. And now we have a you win screen. So, and this is super easy with all these. Let's see if I can get the last one. There we go. But I actually also want the game to stop whenever we win the game. So to do that, we have the stop all that I mentioned earlier, and you find that in control. That will make freeze the game and be unable to play. So in here, control at the bottom, add that below the switch backdrop. So now whenever you win the game will just stop and let you know that you won. So now you actually have a game that you can complete. Sadly, we didn't make other power-ups, but I think this is a pretty cool game. Some of you might not have been there when we started it, but hopefully you were able to follow from the files that I sent you on today's session. This is also the end of this game. We will start up a new game from next live stream, so that will be the beginning of a new game. So tune in for that. We will try and post some ideas of what games we will be making, so you can see beforehand. But you will be there from the beginning of all this awesome game making that we're making. The game that we made today, if you didn't manage to follow all the steps, we will also put that in a link that you can download it, so you can actually play around with the code that we have made here on the live stream. That will all be available in the description below our live stream. But as I also mentioned, we will be on our Discord server, available for talking the next half hour. If you haven't been invited or haven't used the link on our Facebook, we will also put that in the chat here on YouTube, so you can follow that. But there is a YouTube video on our Facebook group showing you how to use our Discord channel and how to get in there. If you have any questions, also post on Facebook and we will help you. Because from next week we will be on Discord and not live streaming, because it's every other week that we do Discord sessions talking to you guys and live stream the other 2 weeks. And I can see, yeah, we just got a post in the chat for our Discord server. So feel free to come in there and talk to us. If you have any questions on how to use Discord, we are also happily to try and explain it. But it's super simple when you get in there. Simply just click any channel that we are sitting in and you will immediately join it. And if you just want to be there to listen and see what cool stuff that we are making, also do that. I know Jan has been working on some pretty cool stuff. So, but yeah, that's more or less it for today's stream. Make sure to save your game. I always forget that. Saving is the most important thing. To save it, go up to File here on the top left. And if you used a web browser, it's the same way. Make sure that you press File, Save to your computer, and then give it an awesome name. I'm calling mine Breaker. Awesome version 1. You can make it whatever name that you feel like, but then press save and it's on your computer for when you like it. But that's it for the stream. I hope to see you on Discord on this. I see you on the next live stream that we are making. So see you guys.